Tonight's special guest is Colin Craig. Colin is the new name on the New Zealand political scene, with his Conservative Party winning 2.65% of the party vote at the last election. In the news this week with comments on contraception and promiscuity, Colin tells us what he really said, not what they thought they heard. We welcome Colin Craig as our special guest on The Beat Goes On. Colin Craig, welcome to The Beat Goes On.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here.
Gosh, you're in the news at the moment, aren't you?
I have been in it a bit, haven't I? Yes.
How do you handle all this wonderful media attention? Because most of the time you're seeking attention, but then suddenly it sometimes comes in for different reasons, doesn't it?
It does, and look, I think we really lacked it, of course, into the election. Most people didn't know who we were. Most of the commentators fell off their chair on election night when we were the fifth highest polling party, and it was, where the heck did they come from? So it's actually a nice change to have the media there going, gee, we'd like a comment from you on this, that or the other thing. So it's a nice change.
So you are becoming a political force, aren't you?
We are. We've got momentum. We got a very good vote for a party that had only been going 6 or 7 weeks into the election, and we're still building membership every day. So for us, it's actually very positive.
So how did it all start? The Conservative Party. Now, there's a Conservative Party in England, of course.
There is.
But, yes.
And in other countries as well. I mean, Canada has a Conservative Party and so on.
You're actually saying what it is, you know.
We are. We're trying to make it clear.
What does it mean to be Conservative?
Well, look, I think a Conservative Party, think about it like this. We are socially conservative and we're financially conservative. So we're not out there to liberalise all the laws of the country and change, what is marriage or, how we interfere in family life. We'd say, look, let people get on and do what they've always done. Secondly, around finances, we are very much about balancing the books. Most people at home know that if you've got $100 in the cheque account, you go out, you can buy $100 worth of shopping. Yeah. Well, nowadays, governments have got it into their head that if they've got $100 million in the cheque account, they can go out and spend $200. Yeah, exactly. and that, what that's doing is that's putting each generation further and further in debt. And the only way out then is to start hocking off our assets and that sort of thing. Now, that's very destructive for a country. And so we're very much focus on let's balance the books and let's get the finances back in order.
When did you start thinking about this and becoming worried about these items? I mean, you're 43 years old today.
I am.
Yes.
I am. And look,
you're a young man for a chat show like this.
Well, I am. But the thing is, for me, the trigger point was the leaky homes crisis. Some of your viewers will know I've got a business background and in property management. And I had over 1,000 clients with leaky homes. Many of them were elderly, and a number of them were actually retired. They no longer had an income stream. Their asset was their home.
That's right, yes.
And the leaky homes crisis, when it happened, I was obviously involved in the industry. I was looking overseas. Canada had the same problem. And next to no time, their government responded. It put in place a Royal Commission of Inquiry. The government set up reconstruction loans and went out there and said, well, we're going to stand by you while you fix your house. We saw none of that in New Zealand. It took 13 years for our government just to change the law that was allowing faulty buildings in the first place. So I saw that and I thought, gee, we've got some pretty bad people running this country. They're just not onto it. Yeah. And that frustrated me because I could see every day the dollar cost was going up and the tragedy in human life. People just suffering all sorts of negative consequences. They were having their entire life savings wiped out. Many of them negative health effects.
And your heart went out to them.
It really did. I still remember finishing a meeting that we had with a number of owners, and a couple of people just sitting there. They were sitting in shock. They'd just been told that everything they'd worked for and saved for the last 20, 30 years was being wiped out. And I just sat down, I put my arm around them, can I get you a cup of tea and all that sort of thing, and I thought, this is so wrong. Why in a country like New Zealand, when we know better, when we knew what was happening overseas, did we not do something? And that gave me a trigger point to say, that's it, I'm going to do something about it.
So most people have that thought, about some issue in their life, but they never do anything about it. So how did you do something about it?
Well, if I look, maybe it's my background. I was brought up in a family. I'm the eldest of 5 children. And I think I've always lived by that motto, you know, don't just complain, fix it.
Yes.
And for me, and I am, I'm putting my hand up,
Yeah.
and already, you know, we've got such tremendous support. And I mean, I think most people know I'm a conservative. I have sort of a traditional outlook on life. I actually believe in hard work, which I realise not everyone does anymore, but I do.
Yeah.
And good family life. I mean, I was brought up in a great family. I had two parents, marvellous upbringing. I was just born in the 60s, and that was I was able to see a little bit of New Zealand at its height, because I think, you know, the 50s, 60s in New Zealand were great times. I heard, you know.
We're a baby boomer chat.
Yeah, well, that's right. You'll know. Yeah. You'll know better than me.
Did us baby boomers ruin it all? When you think about it, all these changes that you're not happy with have sort of come in our last 30 years. You see, we got to 30 around about the 80s, and then, well, of course, Helen Clark and the Labour Party, a lot of the legislation that you wouldn't be happy with.
No, some of that legislation, I'd have to say, I'd happily undo. One of the things that I would undo is just that continual growth of government.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, government is now trying to do everything under the sun. And for the last 25 years, the majority of New Zealand households have got poorer. 25 years of getting poorer. It really is time to change direction. Yeah. And I guess as an entrepreneur and someone who can see so many possibilities for New Zealand.
Well, the thing that confuses, I'm sure, a lot of people is John Key came in as the head of the National Party, and he was touted as the whiz kid financially.
Yeah.
And wow, we haven't got Bill Sutton, the farmer from Invercargill, as the Prime Minister. We've got a whiz kid, a financial whiz kid. Now, I know he landed at the worst time in history. We've got a financial...
yes.
But honestly, to me, I have a sense that the country's just wallowing. It's just...
I really believe it is.
Absolutely wallowing. Now, should I be unfair and say that about John Key, or would you like to defend him more? I don't know.
Well, I'm not. Look, I'm not going to defend him. I'm going to say perhaps what's different between John Key and myself.
How would you do it differently?
Well, for example, John Key, he made his money in banking, making deals.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone could argue that he's a great deal maker. He's still busy making deals.
I wish you'd make a few deals for New Zealand.
Well, you know, he would say some of the deals, Crayford Farm, Sky City, you know, sell off assets. These are deals that are good for New Zealand. But, I mean, I earn my money through being in business. Hard work, paying people wages, getting out there, selling products and so on. So I guess although we are similar and that we've both got a business background, it's quite a different business background. So for me, I look at it and I go, well, gee, I'm interested in selling New Zealand to the rest of the world, and we've got the best food products that we have, you know, in the world. Why is it that we just aren't getting into these markets and we're just not pushing ourselves out there? Now, for me, it's about making New Zealand more efficient, getting the income coming in, you know, and trimming off the unnecessary expenses for programs that frankly just don't work, and let's be honest enough to say a number of them do not. So I think there's a little bit of a difference there. He likes to keep people happy. I'm more interested in telling it how it is. And as someone said to me, well, Colin, all of New Zealand is not going to like you. And that's true. But I know that a good number of New Zealand are going to be very refreshed when someone does get up and say, hey guys, here's how it is. We've been stuffing it up for the last 25 years. We're going to have to make some changes.
What would you do? Let's a dream scenario. Tomorrow morning,
I love it.
You're going down to Wellington. You've won the election. The Conservative Party is now the government of the country with a good majority. Tell us some of the things should change immediately.
Well, we've got to improve our income, and that means new business. And there are many opportunities for us. We could start a couple of gold mines. We could plant new forests. We could actually mine our own oil offshore instead of foreign companies doing it. There are plenty of ways we can get more money in. The other thing I'd do is I'd say to every social program that we have running that's not producing results, you've got 6 months, produce results, or there's no more money. Now that sounds tough, but we are wasting money on things that just don't work.
Look, I think thousands of New Zealanders are waiting for somebody to say exactly what
They are actually, and I get that all the time. Feedback from people who say, oh, for goodness sake, thanks, Colin. I've been thinking that for ages. I just wanted somebody to actually say it. One of the things I would definitely change is we would introduce binding citizens-initiated referenda. I imagine almost all of your viewers will have voted to reduce the number of MPs to 99. They will have voted to get tough on law and order, and they will have voted to change the anti-smacking law.
Yeah.
And what happened? In every case, the government said, no, sorry, stuff you, we're not going to listen. Now, to me, that's unacceptable in a democratic country where the people of this country are not stupid, actually. They're smarter than the guys down in Parliament. And on all those things, we were right. So the first thing I'd do is I'd say from now on, the people in this country do have a right to tell the government when it's out of line. Because those politicians need to come back. And remember, they're there to serve us, not to rule us, to serve us. And I actually see quite a big difference in the type of government that we now have. We have government that gets up and says, gee, we know what's best, shut up, we're just going to do it. And you can see that with the sale of state assets would be a good example. Most of New Zealand would say, no, don't sell my power company for goodness sake. It's making money that we need to run the country. You know, and the people are right about that. But government does not want to do what the people want. It's got its own agenda. And I think that's dangerous. Governments can be captured quite quickly by lobby groups, by foreign interests. I think as long as we give the people power, we can keep the government in line. So that's number one. That's what I do first up. So more power to the people, I say.
Look, we're running out of time. We could talk for hours.
We could.
I'm really enjoying this. But from today, you've had the controversy all last week about the promiscuity, haven't you?
Well, this
how are
week,
you writing that one out?
Yeah, well, look, this week, of course, the first controversy was about John Banks and Epsom and the fact that Active really died. And they have. I think everyone's saying that. And so we are the natural replacement. We've obviously got took a lot of their vote last election. And so I think that was the first thing that came up this week. And that's setting the agenda for where we're going to go. I then, of course, questioned the fact that we were being asked to pay yet again for another social service, and this was
with the contraception.
Free contraception.
Yes. Wow.
We already do it, but now a new sort. And I basically said, look, why aren't people taking personal responsibility for their own lives? And of course someone said, well, it's not like they're sleeping around, Colin. And I said, well, actually, you know, the evidence does say that that is a problem amongst our young
And there was a
people.
poll, wasn't there?
And there was a poll,
and
there's international scientists who have studied this. And we're the second, you know, we're the second most promiscuous nation in the world after Finland.
So it was based on facts,
this is fact.
And so you have to say why the... well, you'd only describe it as hysterical squawking in response to it.
Well, look, I would say this. I think we've become a nation in which those with common sense who just want to tell it honestly how it is.
The truth is being shot down.
Almost oh, no, we don't want to hear it. People don't want to know. But the fact is that this nation used to run on very different principles and very successfully. And I would close by saying, look at our farming industry. We used to realise farming drove this country. And we were behind our farmers. Many people had a farm. I mean, I had an uncle on a farm, and I went down and pulled rag water, milked cows, and it did me the world of good. I just think too many New Zealanders now growing up are missing out on this sort of real life. Tie back to the
being on
good
farms
stuff.
when I was young. It was great, wasn't it?
It was good, and it gave you a dose of reality. Cows don't milk themselves. Weeds don't pull themselves. Get out of bed, go up to work. We've become so politically correct. Political correctness doesn't change anyone's mind. It just shuts them up. And I think that's what's happened. People are
That's
sitting...
a great saying. Say that again. Political correctness
doesn't change anyone's mind.
It just shuts them up. But they simmer away with discontent.
They do. That's right. Because people are sitting there and they're going, you know what? He's absolutely right. Why are we, once again, digging in our pocket to pay for people to go out and live lifestyles that they're choosing to live?
Yes. Exactly.
Why am I paying for that? And alcohol's a good one. Binge drinking in this country. Well, a young person who wants to go out and get drunk is paying half the cost of the alcohol. We, the society of New Zealand, are paying the other half. So, you know, to me, I look at it and I go, well, you know, people are making choices. It's time they actually face the consequences of that. And we used to be that sort of society. If you broke a window, you fixed it. Nowadays, if you broke window, well, it wasn't my fault. and secondly, I can't afford to fix it, so would Wins mind stepping up? Well, Wins is all of us, you know, we're putting the money in. So the old-fashioned approach, one that I really agree with, was you were the parent, you were in charge. If the kid got out of line, you sorted it out. You know, you drag them out of the supermarket or whatever and you take them out to the car and you go, don't do that again. And, you know, you weren't afraid to give them a little smack on the backside, and no one ever died from a smack on the backside. So, you know, this is the sort of New Zealand that we used to be compared to what we've become now, when people are actually quite afraid to actually say what they think, even though their opinions are just as valid as anyone else's.
Colin, thank you for coming in here tonight, Monday the 14th of May.
Thank you.
You're busy. Everybody wants your time at the moment.
They do.
So,
They do.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
It is, but I take it very seriously. We are serious about getting this country back on track. And so for us, I mean, yep, it's great to be in the spotlight and it's great that people are out there going, yeah, go for it. But, you know, we're going to work hard over the next 2.5 years so that at the next election we are in government and we want to really make a change.
Well, look, I wish you the best of luck, Colin.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for giving us
Absolute pleasure.
30 minutes of your time here tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin.